And good evening, everybody. Jake Sovey here, the Creative Executive Director or Creative Executive Officer here at SPM Media LLC. We're the guys who put all the media together for you and make it all robust. We have a very exciting guest tonight and one of the industry influencers with us. We have the team with us tonight. We do have Garret with us and Kat, who
Yep.
is the editor-in-chief. And Garret, I will let you go ahead and do the introduction here.
Hello, everybody. I wanted to personally introduce you guys to John Bertone. He is the sales director for the United States of Kamui products. They have a multitude of products that they sell, and they've been in the industry for quite a while now. How long has that been, John? About 12, 13 years?
17.
17. Wow, that's longer than I had anticipated. And you're also bringing something new to the United States, and that's a product called Whyte Carbon.
I
Why
take
don't you
that
tell
back.
us?
18 years.
18 years. Wow.
Yeah, 18 years. And it's gone by really, really fast. Really
So,
I
fast.
bet.
so you're saying you have 18 years of experience in sales in the billiards industry?
Uh, Actually, a little bit longer. I started with a small website as a case study. I was doing search engine optimization, website listings and stuff like that back in 2001. And I started, looking into pool because I had an affinity for it since I was a little kid. And I started a website. I connected with one of the distributors out there and got a website listed and started selling product and started doing my own search engine optimization. And then, gosh, in 2004, my local cue maker introduced me to the owner of Kamui, which was just him. So if we had employee numbers, I would be employee number 2. So he and
Wow.
I built a relationship, and he came over here and I hosted him and took care of him for a week while we went to the BCA trade show in Vegas, and we really learned a lot. And then we said, all right, let's start this. And so it's been a interesting, very difficult journey. And
What are some of the difficulties you've had, John?
difficulties in business growth. Geez, in 2006, I had a growth spurt. In 2012 or 2011 with when we introduced the chalk, had a big growth spurt from that. And it's just been, that up and down ball that just keeps, over time is, it hasn't mimicked the Dow Jones, but it has gone up and has grown, right?
Well,
You know,
that's funny that you mentioned the Dow Jones because of what I do in the billiards industry, a lot of media, a lot of different billiards clients I personally deal with in the industry. I do a lot of studying and a lot of research on the billiards industry. And last year, the billiard industry was, according to the S&P 500 index, it was at about like almost $600 million, like $587 million was the value of the billiards industry as a whole, according to like the S&P 500 index. Well, this year,
right.
some of the research shows that this year there's going to be a huge growth. Okay, there's been growth year after year, but there's going to be kind of sort of an exponential growth this year, and they're estimating that by the end of this year, the billiards industry will reach an S&P 500 value of about $637 million. Okay, so and this might come hand in hand with like record-breaking entrepreneurship and business startups right now, based on the situation in the world and people losing jobs and starting jobs, et cetera, et cetera. But that has a big impact on companies like Kamui and then of course the new product you're bringing here to the U.S. That's Whyte Carbon. Their shafts, correct?
Yeah, they're shafts, and the factory is actually in Bellingham, in Washington. So, we do have specific factories in different locations that are actually producing the cores for us, but we're putting together the final product and the packaging and everything else with Whyte Carbon in Bellingham. So
okay.
we've had a very long relationship, 35 plus years of relationship with the particular factory that's producing the shafts for us.
And what other kind of have so obviously if they're producing your shafts and they're producing other shafts as well.
It's golf industry.
Oh, okay. What would you say, and we'll get back to Kamui, what would you say is one of the game-changing attributes of these Whyte Carbons?
Oh, well, it's 2 years of research, and we have really developed a shaft that is concentrically perfect. And what I mean by that is the deflection of a shaft, even if it's a carbon fiber shaft, is the same no matter where it is in rotation in your hand. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Okay.
So, for example, we have wood shafts, and they have a grain, and they flex more in one direction than they would another direction. And a difference in deflection and flex of the shaft. Well, we've worked out all those bugs by the process of how we put our shafts together, right down to the fibers. And what is an inherent flaw of carbon fiber with the introduction of shafts to our market is that they're rolled on a mandrel. And when you roll a sheet on a mandrel, you're wrapping and coming up with a seam. And you may not see the seam on the outside surface because it gets ground down. They do a really good job of making that seam line disappear. But internally, inside that shaft, there is a seam. And because of that overlap, it gives it a spine. So you don't know where that spine is. One thing that we can say thank you to Bob Nucci for is the black dot and the red dot shaft. And what he did is identify the flex of the shaft, and by putting a dot on the very top, so that way you can have a consistent flex every time you hit the ball. But who remembers to remember that dot and where it is in location when you go and make a shot? So
very true.
Right. And when we're actually playing really well and we're playing very fluid, like, we're not thinking about those things. We're thinking about the next shot, the next 10 shots ahead, and we're really working the game pattern. Really what we want is our equipment to work.
Yeah, they're not necessarily thinking about where the shaft's rotated in your hand every time you're striking. I mean, there are some instructors I know that are really adamant about the shaft being in a specific position in your hand and rotated properly every time you go to take a shot. But the average player is not, like you said, they're just playing a game, they're into it, and they're just going at it. And one of the flaws that a lot of wooden shafts have is they're not necessarily always straight. They don't always have the right types of, the consistency in the wood grain. So you could produce a set of 10 or even 100 wooden shafts, and not a single one of them are going to have the same attributes, because none of the wood is exactly the same, no matter how good the cue maker makes it. And that's why carbon fiber shafts coming out in the industry over the last couple of years has kind of sort of changed the game a little bit, because they have a full-on consistent structure throughout their and integrity throughout the build of the shaft. And let's just face it, carbon fiber is lighter than wood, right? So
No, it's not.
well, no.
Actually, let me correct you on that real quick here. The carbon fiber shafts are the same. We're actually just a little bit heavier.
Well, it gives,
and one of the other things.
And Garrett, what I meant by that is it gives the creators of the shafts the ability to weight them differently and a little more specifically, because it's carbon fiber itself is a lighter material than wood, so you can focus specific weights and specific balances on the shafts. I didn't mean to interrupt you, Garrett. I just wanted to clarify on that.
You're right. Yeah. One of the other things that that the laminated shafts have really done to help that that portion of what you're talking about is the fact that there are so many different laminated shafts out there, between Predator and a lot of other ones. Predator has the pie shape, Bob Mucci has the flat laminate, Jacoby also has a pie shaped laminate, but they do theirs out of 140 individual laminates, which is pretty impressive. So that way that the individual grains in the wood are never concentric, but they're so much smaller that they are more precise when they put them together. I know there's a lot of other companies out there. Tiger makes an interesting product where they have a square inside of a round shaft. It's, you know, every company out there has got a new take on the low deflection properties of a shaft. And now with the ability of the carbon fiber that's come onto the market, and correct me if I'm wrong on this, John, but I believe McDermott was the first one to come out with these shafts, and it was about 15 or 20 years ago. And it was a total fail because the industry wasn't ready for it. And at that time, everybody was just beginning to explore the benefits and drawbacks of a laminated shaft. And when they brought this onto the market just simply wasn't ready. Predator was the next company about 7-8 years ago that really took a huge jump forwards in that industry. And Predator is an amazing marketing company. They do an incredible job on marketing what they have, between their sponsorship and also the products that they have.
So that's kind of a really good segue into how John does what he does for Kamui.
Absolutely.
And how he's had the success he's had with Kamui here in the U.S. So let's talk a little bit about that. You know, how long precisely? I mean, you've been working in the billiards industry, you said about 18 years doing sales and stuff. How long have you been doing sales for Kamui?
Well, sales for Kamui is 18 years.
Okay.
Since 2001, so we're looking at 21 years in the billiard industry. And I've always loved playing pool. When I was a kid, my father actually intentionally kept me from going into pool halls, really learning about pool halls, but he really pushed finishing college. And so when I finished college, and actually, funny story, first college I went to outside of high school was Cal State Fullerton, and they have a recreation room that has about 6 9-foot pool tables. And I flunked my first year of college because I was always in the pool room. I was always playing. Yeah. And then I went to Fullerton JC, and, you know, dragging my tail, Fullerton JC. My dad was really ticked off at me. But, you know, I learned about, you know, graphic design and, you know, production stuff. And then I went to Woodbury University, which is a private college for branding, marketing, and graphic design. So I got my bachelor's science degree in that. And then I started doing search engine optimization. And then I got it segued into the pool thing, but actually starting a business doing it.
Ah, nice.
Yeah.
Very,
so
very awesome. So I
would sit and watch. I would watch Nick Barner play when I was younger, as a teenager. And it is so funny, even to this day, when Nick calls me on my cell phone, I like shudder going, holy cow, this is my like hero, and I'm actually selling a product to him.
Well, you know,
Yeah.
this is a perfect time for us to take a quick commercial break because you kind of sort of touched on your personal life a little bit and have a couple questions about that. You know, let people get to know who you are just a little bit. And you sort of touched on that there, but we do need to go to a quick commercial break here and let everybody see who is currently running advertisements and sponsoring the show. So thank you all for tuning in. Stay tuned. We'll be back in a few short minutes with more of John Bertone here of Kamui and Whyte Carbon, and we're going to get to know him just a little bit more. Thank you, and here's some words from our sponsors.
No worries.
John, one of the next things that I'm going to bring up is your personal customer service. We
Rodney Morris exclusive educational content new at SPM Media, Discipline and Development. With instructors like Jackie Carroll, learn from top-rated industry professionals. With SPM exclusive content from professionals like Brian Superman Pauly and more. Improve your game now. Go to SneakyPeteMafia.com, Discipline and Development tab, and sign up for the $1 a month exclusive content access now while prices last.
All right, everybody. Welcome back to tonight's SPM TV broadcast with John Bertone from Kamui and Whyte Carbon. And we're going to let Mr. Garret Troop here. He had a very specific question for John. So, Garret, go ahead and take it away.
I was going to mention your professionalism in the industry, which is very difficult. And in the beginning of Kamui, there were a lot of tips that need to be recalled from delaminating or other such products that happen with a company that is semi-new in the industry. And the layered tips was also a new attribute that the industry went through. But one of the things that I personally like about your customer service fact is that you always were able to replace the products that were defaulty, whether it was your fault or not. Because I mean, some of the times it was the tip installer's fault because they got the tips too hot in the glue. You know what I mean? So you had a very specific way to install your tips. And I wanted to say that the way that you're doing business is the correct way to do things.
Yeah, well, thank you. Yeah, it's very, very important to provide the best that we can produce. And just like we've always had the mantra is we're never satisfied with the products we produce. So when someone has a problem with the product, no questions. We're going to take care of the customer and, fix it for them. And from that experience, I don't know if you noticed, but on every Kamui tip, there's a specific serial number for that tip. And you could look that serial number up on the internet from the little URL that's on the serial number, and it will tell you what it is. And we have a database that has born on dates for every serial number for every tip. So when we were having problems with tips, we're coming across counterfeits, and I'm warrantying a counterfeit, and that is a problem too.
Hold on.
Because
Hold
people
on.
think
I'm sorry.
what they have.
I don't mean to interrupt you. You're saying there's people out there making counterfeit Kamui tips?
Oh, yeah. I caught him at one of the BCA trade shows in Schramberg, and I had him thrown out from China. Yeah. I caught him, and, man, I wanted to carry him out with my bare hands. I was so fuming. And in China, they just have a different way of doing things. And over here in America, I don't like someone trying to bank or take advantage of my brand name and the hard work that we've all put. It's not just me, it's the team in Japan and the 24 different families that are part of that personnel over there that are doing all that work. It's super, super important that I take care of them and make sure that, we're not having a counterfeit problem. So that serial number thing is what Masato came up with. And it has worked really well because we can also use a serial number for sourcing and how product is coming in and out of the United States and through different parts of the world, and make sure that the distribution is done correctly. So there's a lot involved when it comes to a product that's a consumable item, because you got some bad characters out there, and we had to smartly think about how to handle those. And let me tell you, there's been hundreds, if not 1,000 or a little bit more, that I have warranted, and they were never a Kamui tip. But my opportunity was that customer trying a Kamui tip for real and coming back and using it again and really having a good, consistent product. And that's important. Thinking deep about our industry is something that a lot of people don't do. And I just spent a lot of time thinking deep about it. And same with Masato. He's the last time I talked to him was maybe 9 months ago. And that's how busy he is. But he and I are on the same wavelength, and we have a good friendship bond, but a very professional business bond as well. And so we like spreading our ideas with each other.
So if you guys do, and this is interesting to me because counterfeit stuff is totally not cool across the board. Copyright infringement, et cetera, right? It's just unprofessional. Right. And I know you said China does things differently. For any of the counterfeits, did you guys do anything to take down notices or reports to authorities on these people who are counterfeiting your product?
Well, I've gone to customs and I've explained it to, I was purple in the face and they just don't get it. It's just been a very big struggle. So instead of having to scream that direction and complain that way, just do the serial number system and educate the user. And I explained to my tip installers, take that little tape off, put it on the joint end of the shaft. It's not going to mar the shaft, it's not going to hurt the shaft, it's not going to do anything to the shaft. But you leave that sticker there, the player 9 times out of 10 will leave it there because they'll come back later when they're done with the tip, look up the serial number and say, oh yeah, that was a super soft tip that I had on the cue. So there's other purposes of that serial number system.
Yeah, that seems like it'll make it easy for people to reorder or restock or find out what they're using. Maybe they were sold a shaft that has a Kamui tip on it, and they see the serial number, right, and they can go and they like that tip and they want to order more of that tip. That's a really beneficial aspect there. So what we're going to do here, guys, is we're going to go to a very quick commercial break here, get just a few more of those commercials in from our sponsors, and when we come back, we're going to have our closing segment here, ask John some questions about his personal life, and hopefully he'll give us a little laugh. I kind of like where you're going with flunking your first year of college there. So, and I say that because I'm a graduate as well, so I understand how hard college can be. Anyway, folks, we'll be right back to the SPM broadcast tonight with John Bertone of Kamui and Whyte Carbon. Please stand by.
Rodney Morris exclusive educational content new at SPM Media, Discipline and Development. With instructors like Jackie Carroll, learn from top-rated industry professionals. With SPM exclusive content from professionals like Brian Superman Pauly and more. Improve your game now. Go to SneakyPeteMafia.com, Discipline and Development tab, and sign up for the $1 a month exclusive content access now while prices last.
Hey, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for tuning in to the SPM TV. We do have John Bertone of, what is it, Garret? Kamui? Kamui. I was saying it wrong, John, and I sincerely apologize.
I'm used to it.
And Whyte Carbon. I was intrigued a little bit by some of your background in history. You said you went to college as a bachelor's in graphics, and then you started doing SEO optimization. So could you just give us like a quick breakdown in just a few minutes of what your educational background and experiential background is, and what you bring to the industry doing what you do?
Well, for me, that's kind of a loaded question. There's so much that's involved. I got into graphics. I really loved the process of print and design, and marketing and branding, and a lot of the projects at Woodbury were, here's the concept, now build a brand around it. And I've done it so many times. I still have my portfolio. It's getting very old, but that process then just jumped in the interest of getting websites listed on Google. Back in '98 and 99 and 2000, that was a big thing. I got into the technical side of that, where I was doing server-side cloaking. If anyone knows what that is, I was serving up fake pages with an algorithm to the Google Spider, and then listing other website pages with the real content. That's called gray hat or black hat stuff. And once Google caught on, or I heard through the grapevine they caught onto that, then I completely stopped that and just listed the pages as good as they could be. I had Kaufman and Broad Homes as one of my clients. Lando Lakes is one of my clients. And it was so hard in that industry. And I heard that, I want to get on the other side of the fence. So I heard that there was the last full tournament in Burbank. And that was like the next day. It was like all meant to be. So I said, well, let's go there. And so I went there and I saw Q-Sticks International, and I got their catalog and, their domain, qsticks.com. They didn't have that. They had qsticksint.com. So I bought qsticks.com. And I called them up and I said, hey, I want to get into this, selling this stuff. I want to create my own website. And so that's how things started that direction. I'm giving you the short story. But then I got into learning more about customer service through Jeffrey Gitomer. And it's the Little Red Book of Selling is his first book that he published. And he has about 15, 16 other books. And really, that's how I think I grew Kamui and how the customer needs to be treated. And I'm going to carry that along with Whyte Carbon.
I'm personally very familiar with quite a few different sales authors, and when you said the Little Red Book, I was like, "Yep, I know what you're talking about." So
yeah,
it's Zig Ziglar. You could go on and name some greats, right?
Right.
There's even a gentleman who does some TED Talks. I really like the way he presents marketing aspects. I can't remember his name off the top of my tongue right now. Simon Sinek. And he talks about like the golden circle and how you communicate. Good communication in marketing is from the outside in. You say why you do things, because everybody already knows what and how is in between. We really don't care about how it gets done. We know what it is. Tell us why you do what you do, and so there's a lot of greats out there. And for you to have the clientele that you have in the industry you have, very impressive. And for you to have been doing it for 21 years, again, very impressive. Because look here, I'm doing a stream. We're doing a live stream on SPM's Facebook. We got SPM's website up and running. We're doing stuff. I do sites too and SEO and all that kind of stuff, right? So to hear somebody who has experience doing it and is still in the industry, hasn't fallen off like a lot of people do, because of the amount of work that comes behind what you have to do to get these things actually functioning properly, operational. Because it can look good, but does it work? Right? It can look good, but does it make money? It can look good, but does it get traffic? And when you talk about SEO stuff, I'm sitting here, I'm thinking like, you made me go, what do I need to do for SEO on all these sites that I'm working on? And so I kind of chuckled a little bit in the background. Garret wanted to ask you another question specific to Whyte Carbon, and I'd like to let Garret go ahead and get that in.
Yeah, my question to you, John, is in the process of creating Whyte Carbon, how are you trying to magnify what you've learned with Kamui and transform that into the next great carbon fiber shaft, as you've discussed?
Well, from my experience and starting Kamui, I decided to support the cue maker and the repair guy. And if I support them, I just really reflected back when I was playing, and I was a player. And I played in the league with Robert LeBlanc. He was running the league. If you know who Robert LeBlanc is, he's the author of A Pool Hustler. And, he is like my best friend in the pool world. He is an awesome person. So from what I learned as a player, when my pool cue was broken, who did I go to? I went to the cue maker, the cue repair guy. So when I started Kamui, I didn't sell the tips directly to players. I sold it directly to key makers and repair shops, and I supported them. And then I told players to go to them because they need the support. And that's really the long and hard road to grow this brand. But what I've done is I've created relationships, and I really strengthened those relationships. Even when I had to recall all my tips that was sold out to my few makers, repair guys, and suppliers. You know, when we had a problem with production or a batch that went out, I recalled it, and I recalled chalk. And let me tell you, the chalk I had to destroy. And side story.
Why would you recall chalk?
Well, it was cracking. They were breaking. They were having issues.
Okay.
This is way back when we first started, back in 2011, 2012. So I recalled all of those pieces of chalk, and I still have a bunch of them left in the garage, but I take them out shooting and go do target practice with them.
How far out though? How far out? What are you going?
Get a little puff of blue.
What are you going? Like 50 yards out? Like 50 yards out on that?
No, 100 yards.
Nice.
100 yards.
All right.
100 yards out.
And
He's
a
using
piece of
something
chalk.
nice,
Wow.
guys.
Yeah.
And a piece of chalk.
And a piece of
Yep.
chalk.
1 inch by 1 inch. If I can hit it at 100 yards, my rifle's dialed in.
Yeah, that's
So-
pretty good. I would say that is pretty good. And see the puff of, right? Like,
Yeah, purple blue. Yeah.
Hey,
so
John, lean back
Yep.
just a little and show off that white carbon logo.
Oh,
That-
yeah. Oh, there we go.
There's the white carbon logo.
All
Look at
right.
that, guys. It's got a
Yeah.
diamond in it, kind of.
I like that.
I like that.
So one thing I want to say about white carbon is that we are taking interest in the retail store owner, and we're going to really support that retail store owner because we want players to go into that retail store.
Who is the retail
And-
store owner?
I'm sorry.
Is the retail store owner white carbon, or is it an individual?
No,
No,
individual.
I'm saying it's the market group.
Okay.
I think, Kat, what he's saying is that like the retail stores who sell billiards
Okay, white
products,
carbon.
they're really
Right.
gonna
Yeah.
get the white carbon shaft into those stores. Is that correct, John?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, it's super important that we support that entity, that person that
Nurture
has
that
that retail
relationship.
store.
Well,
Yeah, that relationship needs to be very strong, and so
that's how the
that's one
billiards.
aspect.
That's how the billiards industry is going to grow to be $637+ million this year, is by everybody supporting each other, by you guys supporting them, by them supporting you and purchasing their product, players going and supporting them, and not necessarily just going and getting a $15 stick from Walmart. You know what I mean? Because
Speaking of supporting the industry, one of the things that John does that's really incredible is he takes an incredible perspective on the youth, and he sponsors a lot of kids that are in the industry. But not only does he sponsor kids, he requires something more from them.
let's talk about that.
He requires that they are doing well in school, and that they're academically sound before they will take the opportunity to sponsor the kid. And I think that's incredible. Why don't you tell me a little bit about that, John?
Yeah, there's a couple stories in that, but the main thing is when children come into the Kamui booth, if I'm in Philadelphia or at the Super Billiards Expo, or I'm at in Vegas at BCA or APA, kids are really interested. The parent wants their kid to be sponsored because I know it's expensive. It's expensive. But one of my requirements, and the minimum requirement, is a 4.0 GPA. Now, one thing that I've set as the interesting standard is these 4.0 GPA students are names that now are pro players.
Yeah.
That is absolutely fantastic.
Yeah, and it sends a chill up my spine just talking about it because, you know, many years ago when I called it out and I said, all right, we're going to start off with doing a Quest for Excellence award and create an award for a bunch of these kids for the DEF. And it had the ceremony and everything, and it was the requirement of 4.0 GPA and excellence in school. They don't need to be a great player. They just need to be a great student. And
well,
one thing,
when they're a great student, they can learn to be a great player, right?
Exactly. And that was an example I had to show and not really talk about it and tell anyone, but show it and prove it.
Right.
And I have an old photo of me at the BCA trade show where there's a BEF event and my group of sponsor players, every one of them is now a pro player.
All right.
Wow.
Yeah.
That is
Yeah,
absolutely fantastic, John. Is there anything else that you would like to say this evening before we have to close up the stream tonight?
Maybe a little bit more about Whyte Carbon.
Yeah, go ahead.
You know, we did the APA Nationals back in was it August or September, and it was a hit. We pretty much sold about 100 shafts to that show, and I'm really impressed about how much support I have in the market and the feedback that I've been getting from the customers who've bought those shafts and people who've played with their friend's shaft and wants to buy more shafts. Just how consistent and how much better they're playing.
So speaking of that, buying more shafts, why don't you tell people where right now, while you're working on these retail partnerships, why don't you tell people where they can find the Whyte Carbon?
Well, right now you can't find the Whyte Carbon readily at any store just yet because for a little while we had to reel back and work more on our process. We have the right people, we're working on our process, and we have a great product. So what we are finding very important is that our process in production is going to sustain the demand. I know at some point we'll be on back order because the demand is going to hit us really hard, but we're going to do the best that we can to keep that back order down and keep the supply going.
So there's no current like online ordering system you guys have set up for this yet?
At the moment, no. Pretty soon we will. The next event
SPM
that
will
we're
be
going
doing
to,
a review on the Whyte Carbon here shortly, and I'll be giving you a hands-on perspective of how they play and how they handle compared to a lot of other shafts that are out there, and the personal feel and responsiveness that you get to when you play with it.
Yeah. And we're going to be at the BCA or CSI event in Vegas coming up in March. We'll be at Super Billiards Expo in April.
Oh, by the way, they did just lift the mask mandate in Nevada. Ooh.
Yep.
So you guys can actually see each other smile at these events now. You know what I mean?
Right.
Oh, hold on.
Yeah, that was a bit difficult, but yeah. I just got to throw
it out there. You know, we're only 3 weeks until the primaries start, and they got to lift the mandates. Just throwing it out there. You know what I mean? Anyway, hey John, what we got to do is we got to catch up with you later on. I look forward to hear more about Whyte Carbon. I look forward to hearing more about Kamui. Did I say that right, Garret?
Yeah.
Okay.
Kamui.
Kamui. Oh, I'm so bad sometimes. And, you know, especially if you're going to be over at CSIM Vegas, there's a possibility that we might have a representative down there, or I myself might be able to come down there as an SPM representative and do some stuff on the scene. It just depends on what weekend it is and if I have my kids or not. If I don't have my kids, I'm there. You know what I mean? And
yes, that would be great.
Yeah, and we'll definitely follow up before that and discuss maybe some of the progress you're having with Whyte Carbon. I do want to thank everybody this evening who tuned into the stream while we were live. I want to thank anybody who's watching the stream later on, and especially thank John Bertone here for taking time out of your day to do this on somewhat of a short notice. We really appreciate the experience and expertise you bring into the industry. And with that, SPM TV will be back on Saturday.
One more thing, Jake. Let me interrupt you. Just 13 seconds.
Oh, dude.
Yeah. John, is there anybody that you would like to specifically give recognition to in the Kamui sponsored players that are shining in your eyes?
Oh, the sponsor players, like the latest one is Savannah Easton. Oh my goodness, that little firecracker, man. She is killing it. She's killing it in Vegas.
Good.
And she just had a tournament. She just had a complete shutout. She won the whole thing.
Savannah
Well,
Houston.
look at following up
Yeah,
with her.
Savannah
Then.
Easton.
I'll have to look her
Say
up.
again. Say again.
I'll have to look
We'll
her
have to
up.
look her up.
Yes, definitely look her up. She's becoming a real hot item, and she's what, 11, 12?
Oh my
11 or
gosh.
12?
Hey, maybe
Yeah.
we can get her on the show and you could help us do that. Get her some exposure. Maybe your parents can be there. We're okay with that. You know, I'm sure we've done a couple interviews at Eric Roberts before. So, and just really excited about the future of the industry in general, and people who focus on the youth of the industry like you are focusing on the future of the industry and not just the here and now and what they can get out of it. So much gratitude out to you. Thank you so very much for what you do. Really do appreciate it, John. Right now, we are going to go to our ending commercial break, and we will be back on Saturday night. We have a guest who is an instructor. We'll let him talk about his clout there in the instructor world. His name is Brad Swain, and we'll see you guys on SPM TV Saturday evening. Thank you, and talk to you soon.